DNA breakthrough could exonerate decades-old suspect in high-profile murder. The Sophie Toscan du Plantier case. On the morning of December 23, 1996, in a quiet, windswept village in West Cork, Ireland, the peace of Christmas week was shattered by a crime so brutal, so chilling, that it continues to haunt the nation nearly 3 decades later. The victim was Sophie Toscan du Plantier, 39 years old, a French television producer, a wife, a mother. She had come to Ireland to find peace, solitude, and inspiration in the wild Atlantic landscape. But instead of finding serenity, Sophie's life ended violently, just outside her holiday home near Shull. She was beaten to death, her body left on a rural lane, injuries so horrific that even veteran investigators struggled to describe the scene. Ireland, a country not known for such savage killings, was stunned. Sophie's murder would go on to become one of the most infamous and enduring mysteries in modern European crime history. For nearly 30 years, the case of Sophie Toscan du Plantier has remained unsolved. No one has ever been convicted in Ireland. And yet, one man's name has been tied to the case almost from the very beginning. His name, Ian Bailey, an English-born journalist who had settled in West Cork. Bailey was arrested twice, questioned extensively, and accused publicly. But despite the suspicion that swirled around him, Irish courts never secured a conviction. Years later, however, a French court tried him in absentia, sentencing him to 25 years in prison, a conviction he never served because Ireland refused to extradite him. For decades, Bailey lived under the shadow of that accusation. His reputation destroyed. His career ended. His name synonymous with one of the most notorious unsolved murders in Europe. And then, in January 2024, Ian Bailey died of a heart attack at the age of 67, still protesting his innocence. But now, nearly a year after his death, a stunning development is shaking the case once more. Advances in forensic science, specifically touch DNA technology, have uncovered new evidence. And according to Bailey's family, it may finally clear his name. Tonight, we dive deep into the story of Sophie Toscan du Plantier, the man accused of her murder, and the possibility that modern science might rewrite history itself. December 23, 1996. West Cork, Ireland. Sophie had spent the evening alone in her holiday cottage. Neighbors later reported hearing strange noises during the night, disturbances that didn't quite make sense until morning. When her body was found, it was clear she had fought desperately for her life. She had been beaten repeatedly, with what investigators believe was a heavy blunt object, possibly a concrete block or a rock from the rugged landscape. Her injuries were catastrophic. Police immediately launched an intensive investigation. In a small rural community, they assumed the killer had to be someone local, someone who knew the area, perhaps even knew Sophie herself. And within days, suspicion turned to a man already well known to Gardaí, Ian Bailey. Bailey was a British freelance journalist living in West Cork. He was eccentric, outspoken, and often controversial. Crucially, he was also one of the first reporters to cover Sophie's murder. But soon, questions arose. How did Bailey seem to know certain details about the crime so early? Why had he allegedly turned up with scratches and injuries shortly after the murder? Witnesses came forward, claiming he had made strange remarks about killing someone. His volatile personal life, including allegations of domestic violence, only deepened suspicion. In 1997 and again in 1998, Bailey was arrested. But each time, Gardaí failed to secure enough evidence to charge him. The Irish Director of Public Prosecutions reviewed the case and concluded there simply wasn't enough to put Bailey on trial. Yet the suspicion never left him. For years, Bailey maintained his innocence. He said the scratches on his hands came from chopping down a Christmas tree. He said Gardaí had set him up, leaking details and twisting testimony to fit their theory. And he insisted that his reputation was being destroyed by a rush to judgment. Still, the cloud hung over him. Because Sophie was French, her family pressed for justice in France. And in 2019, more than 20 years after the murder, a French court tried Ian Bailey in absentia. He was convicted of Sophie's murder and sentenced to 25 years in prison. But Ireland refused to extradite him, citing the weakness of the evidence and concerns about the fairness of the trial. Bailey remained free, but not vindicated. He lived with the weight of being branded a murderer in one country, while protesting his innocence in another. By the time of his death in 2024, Bailey was a broken man. He had suffered strokes, battled ill health, and died still claiming he had been wrongfully accused. Many assumed that his death marked the final chapter in the Sophie Toscan du Plantier case. But then came the breakthrough. Forensic science has advanced dramatically since 1996. One of the most powerful tools to emerge is touch DNA, the ability to recover genetic material from the tiniest traces of skin cells left behind when someone touches a surface. In 2024, investigators revealed that new touch DNA evidence had been analyzed in Sophie's case. And while details remain tightly controlled, Bailey's family says this evidence points away from him and toward other possible suspects. Bailey's sister, speaking publicly, said that the new forensic analysis could finally exonerate her brother. "It's too late for Ian," she said. But it's not too late for the truth. The implications are staggering. If Bailey did not kill Sophie, then the real killer may have walked free for nearly 3 decades. The Sophie Toscan du Plantier murder has never left the public imagination. Documentaries, podcasts, and books have revisited the case countless times. Netflix's Sophie, A Murder in West Cork, brought the story to millions around the world. At its heart, it is more than a murder mystery. It is a story of grief, Sophie's family, who lost a daughter, a wife, a mother. It is a story of reputational destruction, Ian Bailey, whose life was consumed by allegations he could never escape. And it is a story about the power and the limits of forensic science. Now, with touch DNA in the picture, that story may be rewritten. If Bailey is cleared, even posthumously, it will raise profound questions. Did the Irish Gardaí focus too heavily on one suspect, ignoring other leads? Was there a miscarriage of justice that destroyed a man's life while the real killer remained at large? And if so, can justice still be done nearly 30 years later? For Sophie's family, the wait for answers has been agonizing. For Bailey's supporters, the chance to clear his name is bittersweet. Justice may come, but too late for him to see it. The new forensic analysis is ongoing, and results are expected to be made public soon. What they reveal could change everything. The murder of Sophie Toscan du Plantier remains one of Europe's most haunting unsolved crimes. But perhaps at last, modern science will succeed where decades of investigation have failed. One question remains. If Ian Bailey is finally exonerated, who killed Sophie? And will we ever truly know? This is the case of Sophie Toscan du Plantier, a story of tragedy, accusation, science, and the search for truth.